Hello, everyone. Good evening. This is Waris Karim tonight with managerial accounting. So we switch back to managerial accounting primarily for my accounting 219 students at Alabama A&M University. Now, today is another grim day in the coronavirus calendar. Today is 25th of November, and we just crossed 2,300. More than 2,300 people died today in America alone. And global death toll today was just over 12,000. So let's pray to God for all the survivors and all the deceased, that the ones who left us can rest in peace. Their families can have the power and energy to endure this pain. This is one in a lifetime, one in a century. And I don't know how we're going to get over this, go past this pandemic. All right, today is also going to be remembered for a sad news. It's a sad day for football fans all over the world. The Argentine football superstar, global football icon, and one of the best who played the game, Diego Maradona, has died, has passed away today at the age of 60, only 60. So personally, I grew up watching him play 1986 World Cup in Mexico, and this is sad. So, like all football fans all over the world, I share your grief and pray for salvation of Diego Maradona. All right, so what are we going to present tonight? The topic today is activity-based costing. And you would remember that I had another presentation on ABC. And there I presented the topic, the methods of implementing ABC. So I'll start with the same basic theme of ABC, where we say that the whole idea of ABC is that the relationship between products and services and resources, so products and costs, is not direct. Products do not directly consume the resources or costs. So by resources, I mean costs. The relationship between costs and products and services is via activities. So this is the scheme. This is how the relationship works. Here we have the products or services, and here we have activities. So products consume activities. Products involve activities, especially services involve activities, and activities are the ones that consume the resources. So the relationship between products and resources, of products and costs, that is enshrined in traditional cost accounting or absorption costing is not correct, is disputed by activity-based costing. ABC claims that the relationship goes via activities. So the products that involve more activities, that go through more costly activities, are the ones that are more costly. And the same is true for services. And if you're a customer, if I need to go through more activities and more expensive activities for you, then you are a more costly customer. But nevertheless, this is what ABC claims, and this is the crux of ABC, is that the relationship between products and costs is indirect. It is via activities. So we have to find out the activity costs. We have to identify activities. We have to identify activity cost pools and find out the activity rates or unit activity costs. So these are the steps of implementing ABC. You can see we have to start with defining activities, activity costs, activity cost pools, and activity measures. You can see. So activities are like order processing, customer handling, shipping, packing, supporting labor, So anything that involves a verb word, like mixing, okay, packing, heating, ironing, washing, cleaning, painting, processing, communicating, handling checks, handling deposits, closing a loan, counseling, grading exam scripts, teaching, you know. So these are all different activities. Coaching. So depending on the industry, depending on the product or service concern, the activities could be, you know, one or more of a whole range of activities, a myriad of activities. All right. So your job to begin implementing activity-based costing is to identify activities first. Identify activities and identify activity cost pools. What costs, what resources are consumed by those activities? And then activity rates. Identify, and the activity measures. How do you measure those activities? For example, if we say counseling, we could say, well, how many students you counsel? If we say giving office hours, then it could be a number of office hours. If we say grading, then it could be number of scripts, number of booklets graded. Okay, so define activities, activity cost pools, and activity measures, and then assigning overhead costs to those activities. So this is the first stage allocation. This is called, in every textbook, it's called the first stage allocation of costs. So here, what we do, we have like 3 or 4 resources. We assign it to different activities. So that's, I'm going to show it in a moment. Well, this is that. This is the second step, assigning overhead costs to activity cost pools. So you can see here we have resources. I've identified 3 resources, R1, R2, R3. So I call it, it's a resource activity matrix. Resource activity matrix. You have these 3 resources, and resource number 1 is supervisor salary, which is $1,000. Resource number 2 is equipment and computers. Say the total cost or depreciation is $2,000. And the third resource is occupancy, say rent of $3,000. So we have 4 activities here, A1, A2, A3, and A4, and 3 resources. Can you see? So your job in the first stage allocation is to allocate or identify how each of these resources are dedicated to performing those activities. I'm sorry, you can see. So like resource number 1 goes like this. We have 20% consumed by activity 1, 20%, 30%, and 30% respectively. So in activities 3 and 4. So we do the same for each of the resources. How resource number 2 goes to serve different activities. And likewise for resource number 3, you can see if a particular resource is not needed or used by a particular activity, then it goes blank. Like resource 3 is not at all consumed by activity number 2. So we have resource number 3, for example, goes like 20% to activity 1 and 40 and 40 to activities 2 and 3 respectively. So this is where you assign overhead costs to different activities. And number 3 is calculate activity rates. So how do you calculate activity rates? Back here you can see. So based on those percentage allocations, let's say activity number 1 consumes a total of $1,000 worth of all the resources together. So the total cost of activity 1 is $1,000, and the total cost of activity 2 is also $1,000, and for 3 and 4 are $2,000 each respectively. So what we have here is, you can see the 3 resources together is also $6,000, and the 4 activities also add up to $6,000. So that means the whole amount, the total $6,000 is allocated across the 4 activities. Now, if you divide it by activity units, so for example, activity 1, we have 100 units of that activity. Let's say if it is counseling, say student counseling. So if counseling cost is $1,000, and if you have counseled 100 students or 100 counseling hours, then our hourly rate is $10, or our counseling rate per student is $10. Let's say activity 2 is order processing, or registering students, or enrolling students, or issuing ID cards, or cleaning their dorms. So if that activity cost is $1,000 and we have during the period we have performed 200 of those 200 units of those activities, then the unit activity rate is $2. So it's called activity rates in this Garrison textbook, and it's called unit activity cost in Horngren textbook. But whatever it is, let's call it activity rate. So the rate per activity 2 is $2, and the same for activity 3 is $4, and the same for activity 4 is $10. How do you get that? We divide the activity cost, individual activity cost, by activity units. Activity units. So if you have been, say, teaching, and if it's number of hours, then say the total teaching cost is how much? $2,000, and we've been doing 200 hours of teaching, then hourly teaching cost is $10. Can you see? $10. So here we have the activity rate. So we are up to actually step number 3 already. So our first job was to define activities. So we have defined those activities as activities 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we assigned the resources. So these resources are the overheads. Remember, ABC is mainly concerned about overheads. It's an alternative cost assignment system dealing with overheads. We are not concerned about materials and labor, and we have no problem with that. All right, so step number 2 was this assignment, the first stage allocation, and step number 3 is calculating or computing activity rates. And how do you compute that? We divide activity costs by activity units, and that will give us the activity rates. Can you see? So think again. Say order processing, and if total order processing cost is $5,000, and during the period you have say processed 50 orders, so divide 5,000 by 50, you'd get $100. So $100 is the cost per order processed. All right. So these are our steps. So that's step number 3, and step number 4 is now you have the activity rates. So assign overhead cost to different cost objects. So a cost object could be a student, a cost object could be a course, a cost object could be a product even. So now now that you have the rates, and then now you're in a position to actually cost a particular product or a service. So or a customer. So if you see that doing this involves 4 units of activity 1, 5 units of activity 2, and 10 units of activity 3, then just multiply the rate for activity 1 by 4 or 3, those respective numbers. Like making this coffee, for example. So of course, coffee involved material and labor. And now how do you assign the overhead? So if we say, okay, putting the lid or pouring or handling the customer or serving the customer is an activity. Now if you have served say 500 mugs of coffee, and if total serving cost is say $500 or $50, for example, so $50 divided by 500, your serving cost is 10 cents. 10 cents is your serving cost. All right. So now the 5th step is to prepare management reports. So management reports is depending on what management wants. It's usually this is product profitability analysis or customer profitability analysis. So you can borrow those activity rates and then try to find out how we're doing, how this particular customer is doing, or how this particular department is doing, or how this particular product is doing. You can prepare any set of management reports using ABC. All right, now tonight's main focus is to help you guys do the assignment on Blackboard. You will see under chapter 7, there is only, we had 2 or 3, but we have come down to just one piece of assignment, which is the quiz, questions, and problems and the solutions. Well, the solutions are not given. You're supposed to be doing the solutions, but problems and exercises. So now this assignment has 8 such exercises or problems, whatever you call it, total 8. So I've done the work for all 8 of those. You can see it took me like this last whole week, about 4 days almost. I started last weekend, and this is already Wednesday. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving. So I'm now ready to put it on the record for you. So I'd like you to watch it carefully and then please go and attempt it, because I'm saying that still many of you have not even started it. But why not? All right, so let's start here. We have 8 problems, and I'm gonna go over all of them with you. And I have, let's start with question number 4. Question 4, this is question 4 here, but every time you go to that particular assignment, the numbers change, the order changes, and the actual input also randomly changes because of their algorithm. So I'm sharing the screen now, and right now it's actually number 8, I think. So whatever the number is, this is the Security Home Bank. That's the problem, Security Home Bank problem. So let's share the screen, and where is my McGraw-Hill? I just had it. Say this is crazy. So my McGraw-Hill thing is gone. Let's go back again. All right, I have it now. Okay, so let's share the screen again. Try to see if we can have it. All right, here it is. Okay, so we have got the information here of the Security Home Bank. So I hope you can see it. You can see the problem here. This is now number 7. I had it as number 4. So I think that this might be, it might, although it looks a bit clumsy because it's handwritten, but I have the summary of the information. So let's go over this problem. This is the simplest of the problems. So what it says is that it's a bank. They have these resources, only 3 resources: teller wages, assistant branch manager salary, and branch manager salary. So the 3 resources together cost you $309,000. You can see when I did it, the numbers added up to $299,000. Still the 3 resources. You can see R1, R2, and R3. So nevertheless, it's their algorithm. It changes every time you log in. All right. So the 3 resources. Remember, we're going to do this: resource activity matrix. Resource activity matrix. So we'd have to have the resources in here, 3 rows of resources, and how many activities. Let's see. It says virtually all of the costs of the branch, rent, depreciation, utilities, and so on, are organizational sustaining costs that cannot be meaningfully assigned to individual customer transactions. All right, so we don't assign those. We leave it there. In addition to the cost data above, the employees of the Westfield branch have interviewed concerned people, and they have come up with this allocation. So you can see this is their first stage allocation. The based on interviews, based on informed interviews, we try to find out which resource goes to which activities and in what proportion. So we can see 4 activities here. One is opening account. I have those here as well. You can see opening accounts, processing deposits and withdrawals, processing other transactions, and 4 other activities. So now that I'm sharing the screen, I don't think I need to show you all these. So you can see 4 activities if it's big enough. So opening accounts, processing deposits and withdrawals, processing other customer transactions, and other activities. You can see they add up to 100% for each of the resources. So teller wages, the whole idea is that teller wages, it goes to these 4 activities in these proportions, you can see 74% of teller wages goes to processing deposits and withdrawals to that particular activity, and only 3% goes to other activities. And likewise, say assistant branch manager salary, it is allocated at the rate of 12%, 18%, 29, and 41. Branch manager salary, you can see the percentages for that. All right, so then the question is, the manager of the Westfield, well, sorry, we're not yet to the question. The manager of the branch has provided the following data concerning transactions of the branch during the past year. So during the past year, we have done 220 new accounts, 220 new accounts, that's the product. Then we have processed 50,500 deposits and withdrawals, and then processing other customer transactions. So we've done 1,350 other customer transactions processed. So while these are activities as well, like opening accounts, so account opening is the activity, but how many accounts you opened? What did you deliver? We've opened 220 accounts. So now if you want, okay, what is the cost of opening an account? Because account opening as an activity, it draws resources from three different resources from three different people. Teller, from all the tellers, assistant branch manager, and the branch manager himself or herself. So we're going to mix them all up and then find out the total cost of opening all those accounts. And then once we have the total cost, we're going to divide it by 220, and that would give us the cost of opening one account. And likewise, we can also find out what's the cost, of processing, say, one withdrawal or one deposit, and likewise for other customer transactions. So the requirement here is very simple. They require you to compute the activity rates for the activity-based costing system, only activity rates. So they want you to go up to step number 3. All right. So this is the solution. See carefully. All right, what do we have here? We have the 4 activities, A1, A2, A3, A4, and these, you can see small corners, boxes. I've identified the percentages, the percentage distribution of this resource. This is teller wages. This is a resource. This resource goes in these proportions to the 4 activities, and they add up to 100%. This is the total amount. And the same for resource number 2 and resource number 3. And then once you have the percentages, you convert percentages into actual dollar amounts. How? So for example, the total teller wages is $140,000. Although when you try it, it's going to change. But if it is 140,000, and what is 4% of 140,000? Simply find out. It's very easy. You can have formulas in your Excel spreadsheet, or you can use your calculator. So 140,000 take 4% multiplied by 0.04. So that would give you this $5,600. So now all these percentages would be converted into dollars. You can have another sheet or just do in the same box and same cells. Likewise, look at the branch manager salary, for example. Branch manager salary was $93,000, and only 4% goes to account opening. So what's 4% of 93? This is the amount. And what's 0%? There's 0. And what's 23%? So 23% of $93,000. $93,000 times 0.23. So this is how you convert all these percentages into dollars. And so once you have that, now ignore the row totals. Row totals are the resource costs. Now have a column total. See, change your gear, have a column total, and these column totals are going to be your activity costs. So account opening as an activity cost us a total of $18,560. How much? $18,560. Likewise, processing deposits and withdrawals as an activity, it costs us $110,860. And the same for 2 other activities. And then you just divide it by number of units of that particular activity or those activities. So account opening had 220, when you shared the screen, but when I solved it, it was 260. So now if total account opening cost is 18,560, and if we have opened 260 accounts, then what's the average cost of opening an account? And that would be 18,560 divided by 260. So these are called activity units, number of units of that particular activity. And then we divide the activity cost. This is activity cost. This row is activity cost. These are nothing but column totals. So column totals form a particular row, and this row throughout it is an activity cost. You can see these are activity costs and these are activity units. So divide activity cost by activity units, you get unit activity rate. Unit activity or activity rates, unit activity cost. So I divided this by this, I got this. So our account opening was whopping $71. It is costly, it looks like. But processing a check or a withdrawal or a deposit is only $2.38. And processing other transactions, I'm sorry, the third one, processing other transactions was $53.68. And then we didn't do anything for other activities because we thought that is going to be part of organization sustaining cost. We're not assigning that to anything. All right, so that's the answer to that bank problem, the Security Home Bank. So what this problem is all about? This problem was all about the first stage allocation, assigning resources to individual activities. You'd be given the percentages, and your job is to convert percentages into dollars. And once you have the dollars, then have the column totals. Please have the column totals. Once you have the column totals, right here. Once you have the column totals, you'll have the activity costs. These are your activity costs. Column totals are activity costs, and then divided by activity units, you will get unit activity costs or activity rates. All right. So using my university example, say our grading as an activity, student exam grading as an activity costs us say $10,000, and during the year we have graded 2,000 or say 1,000 scripts in total, all courses together. So divide the activity cost, $10,000 by 1,000. So grading one script costs us $10. Say another activity, for example, supervising exams, or as I said, student counseling or student advising. If total advising costs, if we could ascertain those activity costs, and student advising is a very unique activity, and it does take a lot of resources. So that would be a wonderful thing to implement activity-based ABC at a university. So student advising, student enrollment, student counseling, then tutoring, then actual classroom teaching, then receiving feedback or offering them other counseling and guidance. Each of those activities could, because activities are the ones that actually take up all the resources. You see, or maybe say sometimes having a second retake exams, all those. So if we know that advising as an activity costs us say $50,000, and during the year say we advised 5,000 students, then 50,000 divided by 5,000, 50 by 5, again $10 to advise a particular student. All right. So if a student comes 3 times, and if it's say 5,000 is say 5,000 is not number of students, 5,000 is total number of units of like one student may have come 5 times for advising, or another student may not have come even once. So the student who came 5 times cost us $25. Okay, and the student who came only 3 times cost us only $15. So this is how you can identify which customers or which students or which of your members are more costly, less costly, how much profit you're making from which customer or which product even. All right. So banks, hospitals, universities, any service organizations are really best, some of the best places to implement ABC. Well, so the next question I have is foam products. So let's share the screen again and let's see how it goes. I hope I have McGraw-Hill here. Yes, I do. Let's share the screen. Foam products. So let's see which one is foam products. Thermal rising. Not. It changes every time you Go there. Not number 3, not number 4. No. Number 5. No. Number 6. No. So I'm going through each one of them. All right, that's number 8. And when I did it, it was, see, question number 1. Question 1 was foam products. So I actually like it as one of the earlier questions because it it teaches you the initial things first. All right, so the story of foam products is that they make foams, seat foams, seat cushions. And once you look at the problem, you will see that all the activity cost pools are given. So 4 activities: supporting direct labor, batch processing, order processing, customer service. These are the 4 activities. Then activity measures, how you measure those activities. For example, supporting direct labor is measured by number of DLH, number of direct labor hours. Batch processing, of course, number of batches. Order processing will be number of orders. Customer service will be by number of customers. And one blessing is that for us in this problem, the activity rates have already been calculated. So we are up to step number 3 already. They have already solved 3 steps of implementing ABC. All right, so once we have the activity rates, let's go to the requirements. The requirement is simply doing a management report, preparing a customer profitability analysis. So what they tell us is that the company just completed a single order from Interstate Trucking for 2,900 custom seat cushions. What I did, I did 1,600 seat cushions. So my solution is for 1,600, but when you try, it will be a different number. It doesn't matter. As long as you know the process, will be fine. So let's take a listen. The company just completed an order involving 2,900 custom seat cushions. The order was produced in 2 batches. Mine was 5 batches, and each cushion required half 0.5 direct labor hours. Mine was 0.3 though. And the selling price was $142. The materials cost, direct material was $108, and direct labor was $15 per unit, not per hour, per unit, like per unit of seat cushion. This was Interstate Trucking's only order during the year. So they want you to tell how much money, how much profit you made, how much margin you made from Interstate Trucking Company. So what do you need? You need the individual customer information, like how many batches of setups I needed for this customer, and how many seat cushions I delivered, so that we know how much money we charged them, what's our revenue, what's the material, what's our labor, and then for overhead, we go by those activities. Like 5 batches, 1 order, and how many hours of supporting labor. Because we know that materials and labor, the direct material and direct labor, that is beyond the scope of ABC. So that's going to be given. And then from supporting direct labor down, we calculate the cost incurred for this particular customer. The customer is Interstate Trucking. All right. So what I have, what McGraw-Hill Blackboard problem now has is, as you heard, 2,900 seat cushions, and they sold each one for $142. So of course, sales revenue would be 2,900 times 142. That's your sales revenue. And find out the materials cost. Again, 2,900 times 108 here. The materials cost was $108, and labor was $15. So 2,900 times 108, that's your material cost. 2,900 times 15 is your labor cost. And then from supporting direct labor down to down to customer processing, order processing, it would be based on those activity rates. So let's get to supporting direct labor. So supporting direct labor, they say, it was based on direct labor hours. So how many direct labor hours it involved? We are told that each seat cushion required half 0.5 direct labor hour. So how many they produced? They produced or delivered 2,900. So 2,900 times 0.5 gives you 1,450. 1,450 hours of labor, and 1,450 hours of labor times 15, of course, well, times the rate, and the rate here is 14. Remember, $15 was the labor per seat cushion, direct labor per seat cushion. But supporting direct labor doesn't have to be the same number of hours. Supporting labor was only half an hour per seat cushion. So 2,900 seat cushions would involve you 1,450 supporting hours, supporting labor hours. So 1,450 times the $14 is the rate. So there would be a supporting labor, supporting direct labor, and then batch processing would be, there were 2 batches here. In your problem, 2, mine was 5. So 2 times the batch processing cost is $97 per batch. So 97 times 2. And then order processing was 270. So this was 1 order. So 270, they said it was the only order during the year. This was Interstate's only order. So 1 order, and in 1 order they ordered for 2,900 seat cushions. All right, so 1 order processed, it cost us $270 because that's the activity date. And then customer service, to serve 1 customer, which is one of the more costly ones, customer service cost us $2,603. So that $2,603 came here. So you have the sales revenue, subtract all the costs. Don't forget to include material and labor, although that is not part of ABC, but that cost is there to find out the actual margin from this customer. Okay, so that's how we do it. So it's a mini income statement, and see how I did. Let's stop sharing, and let me tell you what I did here. When I did it, our rates were supporting direct labor hours. Remember the 4 activities here: supporting direct labor, batch processing, order processing, and customer service. 4 activities, and this is their measures, measured by DLH, direct labor hour, number of batches, number of orders, and number of customers. Number of batches was 5, number of orders would be 1, number of customers is also 1, and number of direct labor hours would be 0.3 was in my case when I did it. So 0.3, and my total number of cushions was only 1,600. So 1,600 times 0.3, that's how I did. You can see order details. So pick up the highlights. Order details was 1,600 seat cushions, 2 batches, and each seat required 0.3 direct labor hours, 0.3 direct hours of supporting labor, and then direct material cost was 109, while in your case it was 108, and direct labor was $14.40, yours was 15, and see, selling price was $142.50, while the yours was 142. Anyway, I mean, every time when I try again, it's going to change the numbers again. So this is the answer. This is how you do the answer. Let's take a look. The sales revenue, say 1,600 at the rate of 142.5. So you apply your numbers. Yours would be 2,900 or 3,000, whatever number of cushions, times the selling price. So that's your sales revenue minus all the costs. Watch it. Direct materials, labor, and then the 4 overhead items: supporting labor, batch processing, order processing, and customer service. See, supporting direct labor, 1,600 units supplied, delivered, times 0.3, but each cushion took 0.3 hours of supporting labor, and each supporting labor hour rate was $13 when I did it, and when they did it, it's gone up to 14. All right. So then order batch processing. We had 5 batches here, so 5 times 94 was the rate. Activity days 5 times 94, and order processing was 1 order, 279, and customer service also 1 customer service because they're just 1 customer, 2,629. So these are the costs. This is the revenue. So revenue minus cost. This is total cost. That's the customer margin. Customer margin, 20,942. So how do you feel? See, once you have the activity rates, if you can get to that point, but getting to that point is, in real world, it's really difficult because the percentages are not given anywhere. They are not sacrosanct. They are not written on stone. They are based on interviews. So you have to talk to people in the know. People in the know means knowledgeable people who have knowledge about the mechanics, about how services are delivered, about their service delivery system, or about who receives what and who delivers what, who interacts with which group of customers, and whose services are drawn by what activities. So based on those interviews, once you have the percentage matrix and you have the resource cost, so just multiply the individual percentages by that resource cost. So that would assign those totals into different activities across the activities, and you'd have the dollar amounts of each of the activities, and then just add the columns. At the column totals, you'd have activity costs, and divide those activity costs by activity units, and that would give you the activity rates. All right. So it's hand washing. Think of your home, your dinner. One of the activities involving dinner is dishwashing, isn't it? So the more dishwashing, the more dishes that there are, the more people you invite for dinner, the more costly it is to clean those dishes. All right. So if we can identify the total dishwashing cost, and if we know how many dishes, how many plates we washed, and how many total utensils we washed, plates, spoons, forks, knives, so if involved with, just forget about the size differences. Let's say a total of 200 units of items have been washed, and let's assume that we've been doing hand washing. So your total cost is say $20, and you washed a total of 200 items. So divide $20 by 200. So 10 cents is the cost of washing a spoon. So every time you pick up a fresh knife, you know that you are costing us 10 cents. So if you to butter a toast, if you use 3 different knives, then that is 30 cents. Or if you use the same knife to toast, say to butter 2 toasts or 3 toasts for 3 different people, then you're saving on dishwashing cost, aren't you? So the more activities, more cost. All right. All right. So now let's go to my next is Worley Company, which was my question too, and I'm not sure what was yours in your case. All right. So let's see if we still have the McGraw-Hill. We do. Let's share it. Worley Company. So I go back to number 1 again. I'm never lucky. It's randomized. All right, so Worley is number 3 there now. In my case, it was number 2. And now this has become redundant, or what's on the screen is redundant because every time I load it, it changes. So all right, let's at least listen to the story. So what Worley Company has, they buy surgical supplies from a variety of manufacturers and then resells and delivers them to different hospitals. So we have 2 hospitals here. One is the University Hospital and the Memorial Hospital. These 2 hospitals are our 2 customers, or 2 of our customers. And our job in this problem is go to the requirements. First requirement is that to compute the total revenue that Worley Company makes from those 2 hospitals. All right. And then compute the activity rates again. So you need that step number 3, activity rates, unit activity cost. Activity rates for each of the activity cost pools, and then compute the total activity cost that would be assigned to University and Memorial. University is one of the customers, University Hospital, and Memorial Hospital is the second or the other customer. So compute the total activity costs assigned to these 2 customers. And then number 4, compute customer margin, like how much profit you made from each of the 2 hospitals. So what I need is prepare a resource activity matrix. Oh no, resource activity matrix is not needed. They have already done the resource activity matrix, and they have already given you the activity costs. So try to visualize. This is where they already are. So they have done the matrix, and they have given you these totals. So the columns, the activity costs have been added, like the activity costs have been computed, have been determined. Means all these column totals have been established in here. So we are already given the activity costs. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We don't need to do the resource activity matrix again. Activity costs are given, and all we need is activity units. So we're going to divide the activity costs by activity units to get the activity rates. You see? So that's there at the beginning. For example, customer deliveries. Customer deliveries, total cost of customer delivery as an activity is $510,000. And how many units of that delivery made? The total number of deliveries made was 6,000. So what's the cost of one delivery? Simply divide $510,000 by 6,000, or 510 by 6. And the third activity, for example, is manual order processing. Processing an order manually, and it cost us $286,000. Or sorry, manual order processing, your second activity, that cost us $420,000. And how many manual orders we processed? 6,000. So divide 420 by 6. That would give you the activity rate for manual order processing. Our fourth one, for example, is line item picking. Line item picking. So that as an activity cost us $840,000. And how many units of that activity, how many line items have been picked? 480,000 line items have been picked. So 840 divided by 480 would give an activity rate. So it's a simple problem. You can see here. So I summarized it like this. I said, okay, what's given? Activity cost pools are given, activity measures already given, total costs are given, and total activities also given. So we just need to divide total cost by total activity to get the activity rates. And that's what we did here. You can see we have 2 customers, 2 hospitals, and these are our activity measures. We needed, like University Hospital needed 10 deliveries, and the Memorial needed 24. Manual orders, University Hospital needed none. Memorial needed 43. Electronic orders, University needed 18. Memorial needed none. And line items picked, University Hospital needed 120. And Memorial Hospital needed 270. So we just need to now find out the profits made by each of those, by the company from each of those hospitals, from the two hospitals. All right, so now what's the revenue? Requirement 1 was compute the total revenue that we made from the 2 hospitals. And we are told that, for example, if hospital buys, okay, what they tell us, like in my case, they said that they charge their customers 10% above the purchase price, above the market price. Listen to this. Worley sets its prices for all hospitals by making up its cost of goods sold, by marking up its cost of goods sold to those hospitals by 7%. In my case, it was 10%. So Worley is the supplier. Worley is our company. These hospitals are our customers. So get it right. A hospital, a big hospital, big institution is just one customer. You are Worley, you supply different stuff, different materials, different goods to these hospitals and different services. All right, so how you set your price, what's your revenue? The revenue is you have a markup of 7%. So you click it again, that 7% would become probably 9%. So when I did it, this was 10%. So just make sure that you have that markup. And then we are told that, for example, if a hospital buys supplies from Worley that cost Worley $100, so hospitals buy, say they buy, bandage materials, the thing, the gauze that you use to do a bandage. All right, so if it costs me $100 to get it from outside, I just add 7% or 10% in my case. And that's how I charge my customers. Worley would charge the hospital $107 to purchase these supplies. All right, so the information here is that Worley gathered data below for 2 hospitals, University and Memorial, and each hospital purchased medical supplies that had cost Worley $37,000 each. So in my case, this was $38,000. So that is our base selling price, $38,000. So let's follow my solutions. 38,000 multiplied by 1.1, or 110% of 37,000. So that's the revenue. University Hospital, 38,000 times 110%. And so I'm stopping sharing. And this is better. So this is the solution. My first requirement was to find out the revenue we made from the 2 hospitals. So University and Memorial, it cost us $38,000 to purchase it from outside, and we had a markup of 10%, so multiplied it by 110%. So that's our revenue, $41,800 from each of the 2 hospitals. And now these are the activity rates or unit activity costs. You can see customer service. So customer service cost us 486. We divided by number of units, 6,000. So we'd get the rate. I didn't solve it for you. Well, solved it here. So divide each of those activity costs by activity units. Remember, divide activity costs, the cost of performing an activity, by number of units of that activity performed. Like customer service, the number of customers. Order processing, number of orders. Batch processing, number of batches. Machine setups, number of setups. All right. So costs divided by units of that particular activity. So that would give you these rates. And we now have it here. You can see this is the activity rate for the first one, customer service, $81. Then manual order processing, $78 when I did it. Electronic order processing, $25. And line item picking was $2.40. All right, so you have the rates. And now see how many of those particular activities the University Hospital needed. If University Hospital needed, say 10 deliveries, oh, sorry, that was not customer service, that was customer delivery. If they needed 10 deliveries, then each time we deliver something, it cost us $81. It's like sending a courier. So you ask for a small, a particular item, but you keep asking every day. So every day I have to courier something. If courier costs me $3, then each time it is $3. Rather, you could have a bulk of it, and maybe you could minimize the number of deliveries. Then that would save some costs. Anyway, so University Hospital involved 10 deliveries. Memorial needed 24 deliveries. You see, the rates are the same, 81. And then manual order, University needed none, 0 manual orders. Memorial needed 43. So 43 times 78. And then 78 is the rate. And then electronic order processing, University needed 18, Memorial needed none. So each was $25. Finally, line order picking, $2.40. University Hospital needed 120, and the Memorial Hospital needed 270. So multiply the unit activity rate by number of units, number of activities that customer consumed. So you have this, just add them up. Add these, you get the University Hospital cost. Add these, you get the Memorial Hospital cost. So subtract that from revenue. Subtract that from revenue, and you get the profit. All right, so don't forget to subtract the original $38,000 as a cost, because it cost you $38,000. See, Worley doesn't manufacture those supplies. What Worley does, they purchase it from outside and delivers it and supplies it. So supply in 2 different meanings. Supplies as a noun, you buy supplies. Worley, think of Worley as a middleman. Worley buys supplies from suppliers, and then they supply those supplies to the 2 hospitals. Terrible use of English, isn't it? But a smart use for those who observe. Can you see the situation? Worley is a vendor. They're a vendor. Say I am owner of Worley. My job is to purchase supplies, hospital supplies from different suppliers, get them and supply them to say Huntsville Hospital, okay, or Madison Hospital. So when I buy $37,000 worth of goods, I charge 10% more. So that's my margin. But that 10% could be eaten up by all those services, because you involve a lot of deliveries, you involve a lot of electronic orders. So every time I process an electronic order, it costs me, you can see, it costs me $25. And every time I process a manual order, it costs me $78. I mean, even loading a car, loading a pickup van is costly, isn't it? Loading and unloading and parking and starting and finding a driver and getting the driver to drive it up to your premises. So these are all costs. The actual supplies is there, but transferring it, shipping it to your location, to your premises, is the overhead. All right. So that's our Worley company example. Perfect. There's the Worley company. Now next is, I mean, most of you must be okay by now, but I have a couple more problems. So next is question 3. We do is the gliding one, the gliders one. So that's let me share the screen again. So gliding. So let's say, there are 3 requirements. 4th was compute their customer margin. And in the question, they actually do tell you that don't overlook the $37,000 of cost of goods sold. So have that as one of the costs, or the main item of cost, and then you have those other costs. Remember, this is back to Worley example. So your revenue is this. Revenue will be 41,800 for both the hospitals. And then 37, in my case, 38 is the cost of goods sold plus these costs. So there's $810 plus 450 plus 288. They have some margin, because the total margin is actually only 10%. And from the 10%, you'd have to defray all these overhead costs. See, quite a lot here. For the Memorial, I don't think they made any money from Memorial, because Memorial needed a lot of order, a lot of deliveries, 24 deliveries, and delivery cost itself was like $1,944. And manual order processing, Memorial Hospital needed a lot of manual order processing that involved how many? 43 manual orders, and that cost us $3,354. No electronic orders, and line item picking was 648. So if you added these up, that would obviously more than the 10%, because 10% of 38,000 is only 3,800. So from $3,800, you can't pay more than one item. All right. So I can tell you from what I can see here is that the company didn't make any money. They actually lost money on the Memorial Hospital customer, and they made some money from the University Hospital. All right, it doesn't matter whether they made any money or not. Our job was to calculate how much money they made, if they did any. All right, that's Worley. Now the gliding one. So back to the basics. Yes, number 1. This is my number 3, your number 1. All right, so what's the story? The story is that Thermal Rising Incorporated makes paragliders for sale through specialty sporting goods stores. The company does certain things. Here we have 2 different types of models. One was the standard model, second was custom design, and we have the activity rates. Again, most of these problems already have done part of the ABC. So they're not asking you to do the first stage allocation, like those percentages, and then assign those costs to those individual cells and prepare the resource, the so-called resource activity matrix. Remember, what is it? Resource activity matrix, where you have resources in rows and activities in columns, and assign all the resources to all the activities, and then have the activity totals. Once you have the activity totals, that final row, the bottom line of the matrix is your activity costs, and then divide that row by the number of activities, the number of that particular activity. You'd have the activity rates. So here they have already given you the activity rates. All right, so we have how many activities here? 4 activities: supporting direct labor, order processing, custom design processing, and customer service. 4 activities, their individual activity rates are given. And then simply apply that to your two products. All right. So management would like an analysis of the profitability of a particular customer. The customer name is Big Sky Outfitters, and they have which has ordered the following products over the last 12 months. All right. So what they did, we have one customer here, one customer, and our customer is Big Sky Outfitters. They have ordered 2 products. One is a standard model, and there's custom design. So standard model, like it fits everyone. Custom design is custom made. All right. And now let's find out the order details. When I did it, I had this for the 2 customers. Sorry, for the 2 products. So standard model involved 13 gliders. So number of gliders, 13 for the standard, 3 for custom design. In here we have 15 and 2 respectively. And the number of orders was 1 for standard model and 3 for custom design. It's now changed to 1 and 2. Number of custom designs, 0. Of course, in standard model there will be no custom design. So 0 custom design for the standard model and 3 custom designs for the custom design model or custom design product. Then direct labor hours per glider, we had to spend time for each of the gliders. When I did it, this was 27.5 hours and 33 hours respectively for standard model and custom design. But now it's changed to 29.5 and 33. So every time it changes, I told you before. And the selling price per glider was $1,700 and $23.90. It's not the same. It's $1,700 and $23.60. And you try again, it's going to change again. And the direct materials cost per glider, when I did it, this was $472 and $580 respectively for standard and custom design. And now it's $458 and $572. Doesn't matter. Direct labor rate was $16 per hour. Well, so we have the activity rates. Simply apply that to these 2 products. For example, you have number of gliders. So how many gliders you have on the standard model? You have 15 or semi 13. That's how much money you charged. You charge each one. See, selling price per glider is $1,700. So for my standard model, I'm going to multiply $1,700 by number of gliders, whether it's 15 or 18 or 13, doesn't matter. My rate is what's important, and number of gliders is important. So as long as I have the 2 pieces of information, I'm going to use them and multiply them to find out your revenue. And then your costs would be, say, your labor, your order processing. Well, those 4. Of course, your direct labor is there, your material is there. You can see direct labor hours, and we spent materials. So use materials, use labor, because although we say that direct materials and direct labor, these are beyond ABC, but they are costs nonetheless. So if you are interested in a customer profitability analysis, a customer margin analysis, then you have to take those 2 costs into account. Otherwise, the customer would look really profitable, because from selling price, you are ignoring the actual material and labor, and all you are subtracting is the overheads. So don't do that. So that's why, although in ABC we don't deal with material and labor, but we have to use them to compute or to determine customer profitability or customer margin. Anyway, so we have all those information. You have the selling price, you have material cost, you have labor cost, and we have the 4 overhead costs. So let's prepare the profitability customer margin analysis. So this is what I did. Stop share. All right, so what I have here, you need to do something like this. Simple, your sales revenue. So how many gliders? For example, I had 13, and each one we charged $1,700. So let's just focus on one column, standard. So 1,700 times 3 is your selling price. And then your material, again, the material cost times, sorry, not 1,700 times 3, but 1,700 times 13 is your selling price or revenue. Then materials cost times 13 is your total material cost, direct material, that is, and then your labor, this was 16 times 2750, 27.5 hours per glider times 13. 13 was number of gliders. So how many hours of labor you spent? Watch it. For material was simply 13 times because the material cost was given for a particular, for the whole customer, for the glider. But labor, for each glider we spent 27.5 hours. So that's the hourly rate, $16 times 27.5 times 13. So that's your labor cost. And then do the supporting labor and the 4. So supporting labor, order processing, custom design, and customer service. So the 4 overhead items. All right, so let's go back to it. So supporting customers, supporting direct labor. To support direct labor, we needed supporting labor. See, supporting labor. So their hourly rate is more. See, direct labor has one rate, and supporting labor has a different rate. So their rate is $18 times 27.5 times 13. So that's the supporting labor. Then order processing, one order, each one cost you $200. For custom design, you can see more orders. Three custom design things needed came in 3 different orders, and that's expected because it's custom design. That means there will be one order for one glider or one group of gliders, and there will be another order for another group of gliders. So we had a total of 3 gliders, and each one needed different things, unique things. So each one was an order for the custom design column. Now for here, there's just one order. So each order costs us only $200 to process. So that's order processing. And then custom design, of course, none, because this is standard. And then the customer service you simply doesn't go by products. Customer services goes to the total column, total. So here we have, they could have asked you that how much money you made from each one of those. So find those out. You could just add these, and that would be your cost of the standard design, and add these, there will be cost of custom design, and you have the revenues. You see, so revenue minus these costs would give you a customer margin. But there's one cost here, customer service, that was one customer, because this Big Sky Outfitters is one customer, and it costs us $426 to serve a customer, no matter how many gliders they send. All right, that's why the 426 didn't feature in any of the product columns. These are the 2 products. So I'll hold it for you for a second so that you can settle it, settle your eyes on a particular line or column. All right, so that's how we do a customer profitability analysis. See, we have to have the material and labor plus the overheads. So this is the profit that we made. This is the money we made from this customer, Big Sky Outfitters. All right, so that's our mercerizing the gliding company. No, sorry, that's not Mercer. There's, I think, there's a different company name. Let's see what that is. Thermal rising. Yes, thermal rising. So that was their profitability, customer profitability analysis, and the customer margin is given here. You can see the explanation. The explanation is quite cumbersome, very wordy, but I think mine is better. So the 2 products standard design, custom design, total. All right, so total revenue, and then the total cost, and there's margin. Okay, so now we have how many more? 5, 6, and 7. So 3 more. So let's go to Mercer Asbestos. Yes, that's now number 2. When I did it, it was number 5. Well, so what's the story? See, very, very wordy, but the summary is that the activity rates must be calculated here. We have the activity cost pools, so all the resources. Well, let me tell you a little bit of the story. So Mercer, asbestos removal company, they remove toxic materials from different buildings. So they said that we have routine activities, routine work, and also some non-routine work. If you send me like far away place or to a building that's not conventional, which involves a lot of moving, a lot of complicated buildings. Okay, so they have routine activities and non-routine jobs. Routine jobs and non-routine jobs. They asked us to find out how much money they made from like one routine job or 2 non-routine jobs. You can see here a first stage allocation job is at our hands. So the percentage allocation is given. They have the resources. So always remember resource and activities. Resources and then activities. Resources must be assigned to those activities and then find the activity totals divided by number of activities. That would give us the unit activity rate or unit activity costs. All right, once you have that, then you simply plug it onto different customers. And there you go. All right, so you have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 resources. You can see costs for the year, wages and salaries, disposal fees, equipment depreciation, on-site supplies, office expenses, licensing, and insurance. So all these are resources costs, total about more than $2 million. Then that's assigned to 3 different activities plus an other, so 4 activities. You can see wages and salaries, 60, 10, 20, 10. So different percentages for the different activities, but that is beside the point. We know the totals. So like my wages and salaries is $372,000 in total. When I did it, this was $308,000. So this is my resource activity matrix. I'm proud of it. You can see. So you have, if you look at the screen now, you'll have $372,000 of wages and salaries, and that's assigned in this way, in this order. So 60% to removing asbestos, 10% to estimating and job setup, 20% to working on non-routine jobs, and 10% to other. So simply multiply how much is wages and salary, 372,000. So multiplied by 0.6, you'd see the share of wages and salaries going to removing asbestos. So please listen carefully. We have 6 resources, and all those resources, or each of those resources, are deployed to perform those activities. What are the activities? Activities include removing asbestos. See, look for a verb. There's an activity, removal, removing asbestos. Then estimating job and job setup. Then working on non-routine jobs. Okay, so look at those percentages. Whenever you have percentages, you have everything. That's a gold mine. You just need to create this resource activity matrix. All right, so once you have that, we already have the total. So total cost of each of those activities, you can see that's one of the requirements. You can see perform the first stage allocation of costs to the activity cost pools. Second requirement is compute the activity rates. Third is using the activity rates you have just computed, determine the total cost and the average cost per 1,000 square foot of each of the jobs, each of the following jobs. There are 3 jobs. One is a routine 1,000 square foot job, then a routine 2,000 square foot job, and a non-routine 2,000 square foot job. Lovely. So I'll stop sharing the screen now, and I'll go back to this. So please look at this. Here are the resources, wages and salaries down to licensing and insurance. Can you see? These are the 4 resources. These are the costs, resource costs, resource totals. And this is how they are all assigned. You can see like 60%. So 60, 10, those percentages you can see. Put them in corners, and then I simply multiply these totals by those percentages. Like 308,000 times 60% is this number. Also, you do this resource activity matrix and then have the column totals. These column totals, or this row is the cost of those activities. So like the asbestos removing as an activity, total cost is 884. So if we now divide it by how many thousand square foot of asbestos or a building space that is removed asbestos of, we can get the unit cost of removing, say, 1,000 square foot walls asbestos. So that information is also here. Once we have that, we go here, you can see. So these are my activities. You can see removing asbestos. Well, simply I simply plugged on these totals. So see 884, 118, 547, stuff like this. So these are the activity costs. These column totals are the activity costs, and bring those column totals to this. So we have the three activities here. The fourth was other, which we don't assign. That stays as a lump sum. So you have removing asbestos, estimating and job setup, and performing or working on non-routine jobs. So three activities. These are the activity costs, and these are activity units. Activity costs and activity units. So divide this column by this column, you get the activity rates. Remember, divide your activity costs by activity units, you'd get activity rates. So for example, the total cost of removing asbestos is $884,000. And if we had done that for 850,000 square foot space, so divide this by 850, you'd get the cost of 1,000 square foot space, a wall. All right. So we can see that the activity rates are like 1,040 per 1,000 square foot, and then $2,092 to estimate and setting up a job and set up a job, and then working on non-routine jobs. You can see huge, $5,479. Very expensive. Now, they said using these activity rates, compute the total cost of the following activities, the following jobs. One job was 1,000 square foot asbestos removal. 1,000 square foot. This is non-routine. Sorry, this is routine asbestos. It's a routine job. So 1,000 square foot means this is the cost of removing that asbestos for 1,000 square foot space. So 1,040 times 1. And how many jobs you have to set up? Estimate and set up 1. So 1,040 times 1 plus 297 times 1 plus this is not applicable because this is the cost of a non-routine job. The first two requirements involve routine jobs: 1,000 square foot routine job, 2,000 square foot routine job. So we solve it like this. You can see here 1,040. So that's the requirement: 1,000 square foot asbestos removal. So 1,040 times 1 plus 297 times 1 plus 0. So that's the answer to that. That's the cost of removing asbestos. Then the second one was, so average cost per square foot would be that dollar divided by also 1. They didn't want average cost per square foot. They asked you to do average cost per 1,000 square foot. So this is the cost of 1,000. So that's the average as well. 1,337 divided by 1. So the answer is also 1,337. I initially thought that they wanted the average cost of removing asbestos for 1 square foot. So I started dividing it by 1,000. Then I found out that no, we needed to divide by just 1 or simply not divide it at all. Because that's the unit. 1,000 square foot is the unit. All right, second is, it's a routine 2,000 square foot job. So initial asbestos removal will be multiplied by 2. It's still one job, so job setup cost is still the same. So this plus this is equal to this, and you divide it by 2. because this is a 2,000 square foot job. And then the third one was non-routine, but 2,000 square foot job. So again, 10,040 times 2, still one job setup, but it's being non-routine, you have to add this cost. You have to add the cost of performing a non-routine job. So this is very costly, over $7,000. And if you divide it by 2, then you'd get the average cost, because it's a 2,000 square foot job. 2,000 square foot, and on top of it, it's a non-routine job. So we had to have the non-routine activity cost included there. All right, so that's our Mercer asbestos removal problem. 2 more. Then there's a Klumper Corporation question, which also is partially done for you. So let's share the screen again. Klumper Corporation. I hope it is number 3. No, number 3 is Worley. 4 is Klumper. When I did it, this was number 6. It was number 6. All right, so let's get to the story first. Again, activity rates are given. So Klumper Corporation is a diversified manufacturer of industrial goods. The company's activity-based costing system contains the following 6 activity cost pools and activity rates. So activity rates are given. I don't need anything before it. So let's move forward. We have the 6 activities: supporting direct labor, machine processing, machine setups, production orders, shipments, and product sustaining. So the individual activity rates are given. Life's easy. And then we have 2 products here. Activity data have been supplied for the following 2 products. One is K425 and then M67. So 2 products, and our job is simply to find out how much of those activities been consumed by these 2 products. For example, the first product, K425, there were 200 units, and they needed 950 direct labor hours. And how much is our hourly rate? Labor hour cost, you can see direct labor cost is how much total overhead cost would be assigned to K. Yeah, so it's not a customer profitability analysis. They simply want us to calculate the overhead cost consumed by the 2 products. So we can ignore material and labor, but we still need the labor hours for some of the measures, because our supporting direct labor, that service is measured by direct labor hours. So $8 per DLH or direct labor hour. So we'll start with that. We'll do supporting direct labor. Our rate is $8, and how many hours of direct labor was needed? 200. So we had to support those direct labor for those 200 hours, and each hour we supported them, it cost us $8. So 200 times 8. That's supporting direct labor hours. And sorry, not 200, it was 950 direct labor hours. So 950 times $8 per hour. So it is $7,600. And likewise, machine processing. So machine processing goes by machine hours, $2,600, and machine processing cost is $2 per machine hour. So how many machine hours are there? 2,600 machine hours. So 2,600 machine hours times 2 is 5,200. So each of those activities is consumed by the 2 products. Then there was a machine setup. We had to set up the machine, and machine setups, we needed 17 setups. And each setup cost us, each time we set it up, it cost us $40. So 40 times 17. All right, so let's look at this. Stop sharing. This is what we have here. Same thing, you can see. 6 activities, their activity rates. Supporting direct labor, $7. Machine processing, machine setups, and blah, blah, blah. So the 2 products, and simply, this is their information. This is not the solution. This is the information, like how many hours, how many setups, and how many machine hours they consumed. And this is the answer. Once you know those inputs and you know the rates, so this is product number K425, and this is product M67. And now let's go by the 6 lines. So first, supporting labor. Supporting direct labor, $7 the hourly rate, 1,050, or in the machine now was 950. So that's the number of hours. So $7 times this. Then machine processing, $3 here. When I looked at the computer, now it was $2. So 2 or 3 doesn't matter. So your rate, activity rate times number of machine hours. Then setups, your depending on how many setups you needed, and likewise for production orders, shipments, and all those activities. So simply use the activity rates given and plug it in to the product information. You see? So I'm making burgers. So burgers are my products, and burgers needed 4 hours of machining, or 2 hours of warming, 3 hours of, say, my chef's time. So simply plug them in. You have the rates. So take a look. So there's the clumper. Now finally, last one, Hiram's Lakeside. So let's share the screen again. Hiram's Lakeside. Let's see if it's number 5. No. Durban metal products. Oh yeah, we have 2 left. Hiram's Lakeside. Yeah, okay, all right. So I have the Durban metal product. So let's solve it here. Durban metal is a small problem. Again, activity rates are given. You can see as I shared the screen. Durban Metal Products Limited of the Republic of South Africa makes specialty metal parts used in applications ranging from A to Z. Doesn't matter, the company uses an ABC system for internal decision-making purposes. The company has 4 activity cost pools as listed below. So the activity cost pools, activity measures, and most importantly, activity rates are given, already done for you. So order size, and doesn't matter what it is called, the activity rate, like to process an order, it cost us $17.30. Okay, and order size is like the size of the order. It's measured by direct labor hours. So if it involves, like, of course, the nature of the company, the nature of their business is that they deal in metals, so they probably do fabrication or other things. So if the order involves more labor hours, means more work. So $17.30 per direct labor hour. And then, so of course, your order, if it involves, say, 100 labor hours, so we'll multiply $17.30 by 100. And then customer orders, number of orders. So there may be 1 order or 2 orders. Each order costs us $362. Testing, product testing. Every time we do a test, we spend an hour on testing. It costs us $74. And selling, number of sales calls. Every time we receive a sales call, it costs us $1,482. Oh my God, very, very costly. So the requirement, the managing director of the company would like information concerning the cost of a recently completed order for heavy-duty trailer axles. The order required 160 direct labor hours, 10 hours of product testing, and 5 sales calls. All right. So simply, when I plug them in, so order size is direct labor hours. How many labor hours are there? 160. The hourly rate is $17.30. So multiply the 2, and that's your order size. Then customer orders, how many orders are there? There's 1 order, so that's 362 implied. And then testing was $72 per hour, and it involved 10 hours of product testing. So 10 hours times 74 is 740. And the sales calls, 1482 per call, and it involved 5 sales calls. 5 times 1482. So the total overhead cost to just serve this customer recently completed order the total overhead cost is 11,280. So this is how I did it. When I did it was 10,000 and stop sharing. When I did it, this is what it was. So take a look. Activity cost pools, activity rates, and then activities. How many activities it involved? So $17, and it involved 190 direct labor hours. These are the order specific, customer specific information. So 190 hours, one order, 12 testing hours, 15 testing hours, and 4 sales calls. It was 10 testing hours and 5 sales calls when we looked at the screen. It doesn't matter. We can cope with any numbers now. All right. Okay. And that was the requirement. Order cost involving 190 direct labor hours, 15 hours of product testing, and 4 sales calls. So identify the total overhead cost. This is 10,785. But forget about the number. Look at the process. The process is you have the customer information with order information. Just plug them in to your rates. So 190 hours, we have $17. One order, we have this order processing. We have testing. Each testing hour costs 85, and how many hours of testing? It involves 15 hours of testing, and 4 sales calls. So 4 times sales call cost, 1481 per call. Okay, so hold it for a while. You look at it carefully. Okay, all right. So final one, Hiram's Lakeside. Let's go back and share the screen again. Hello, Hiram. Lucky, the next one. The very next one is Hiram's Lakeside. Here the activity costs are not given. All right, so the story is Hiram's Lakeside is a popular restaurant located on Lake Washington in Seattle. The owner of the restaurant has been trying to do better, trying to better understand costs at the restaurant, and has hired a student intern to conduct an ABC study. The intern, in consultation with the people, identified 3 major activities and then completed the first stage allocations of costs to the activity cost pools. All right, so the 3 activities are serving a party of diners, serving a diner, and serving drinks. So serving a party, then serving a diner, like the party itself is an activity, handling them as a party, a group. And then individual diners must be served, like, sir, what do you want, ma'am, what do you want? Can I add something? Would you like some drinks? Would you like a refill? And then serving drinks would be based on number of drinks served. So the total costs are given and the total activity information, like total cost of serving the parties was 19,240, as I can see it. And the total number of parties that came there, that visited the restaurant, was 5,200. Then the number of diners was, of course, more, 12,300. And they ordered 10,000 drinks. All right, so the above costs include all of the costs of the restaurant, except for organization sustaining costs, of course, which cannot be included in any of these activities, and blah blah blah. So the requirement is, according to the activity-based costing system, what is the total cost and average cost per diner for serving each of the following parties of diners? What are the groups? One is a party of 6 diners who ordered 4 drinks, then party of 5 who ordered no drinks, and a party of 1 who ordered 3 drinks. So what's the problem? A party of 6 diners, so it's a party, isn't it? No matter how many diners there are, it's a party. So there is a cost of handling a party, and that cost is 19,240 divided by 5,200. So first, calculate the activity rates. Basically, divide the total activity cost by number of those activities, or activity numbers, or activity units. Activity units, or total activity, we call it. So for serving a party of diners, the total cost was 19,240. So plug in 19,240 and divide it by 5,200. So that is your unit activity cost or activity rate to handle a group. So our first question was a party of 6 diners who ordered 4 drinks in total. So we'll have that party handling cost and then individual diner handling cost. Individual diner handling cost is 108,240 divided by 12,300. So that's the cost of handling or serving an individual diner, no matter how many drinks they ordered. So we had 6 people here, so multiply that by 6. And then they ordered 4 drinks. And serving drinks cost us $39,000 divided by 10,000. So it's like, looks like $3.9. And then they ordered 4 drinks, so multiply that by 4. And they add the 3 together. So that's the total cost. And then you divide it by number of diners there are. Number of diners there was 6. So divided by 6 and you get the average cost per diner. All right. So take a look at this. So I'll stop sharing now and I'll do this. So first of all, you can see these are the activity costs. Well, numbers would change as you log in again. So these are the activity costs and these are the total activities or activity units. So divide this column by this to get the activity rates. We have the activity rates here. You can see party of 6 ordered 5 drinks. So we have 3.1 was because it's a party. So divide this by this by this. That will give you 3.1. 15,810 divided by 5,100. So that's actually 3.1. So 3.1 is the cost of handling a party. You can see each of those had this 3.1, 3.1, 3.1, 3.1. Because each of those are parties, no matter how many people there were. And then 6 times this is the cost of handling a diner. Why do you get it? We divide this by this. That would give us this 8.3. So 8.3 is the cost of handling a diner. And how many diners were there? In this question, there are 6 diners. You can see party of 6. So multiply that by 6. 8.3 by 6. And then they ordered 5 drinks. Although when I read it, it was 4. Doesn't matter. What's the cost of serving a drink? This by this. This is the total cost of serving drinks, and this is total number of drinks served. So that divided by this would give you the rate, and then multiply it by 5 because there are 5 drinks. So solve it and you get this answer. So that's the cost of serving a party of 6 who asked for 5 drinks, and then you divide it by 6, you get the average rate. And do the same for party of 5 who ordered no drinks. So there'd be no drink cost, but it's still a party, so there'd be still 3.1 plus 5 times this, and there'd be this. And now divided by 5, you'd get the average rate. And the party of 1 who ordered 4 drinks. So this is a party, whether you have party of 1 or party of 2, still a party, so $3.1 plus 8.3 times 1 because it's still a 1-member party, and they ordered 5 drinks here, so 5 times the drink serving cost. Okay, so the total and average are the same here because there's just one person there. All right, so tell me how you feel. Remember, guys, ABC, or for that matter, any chapter is very common sense chapter. In managerial accounting, there is, it's a no nonsense discipline. It's not financial accounting. In financial accounting, there are many things we do it for compliance. For example, historical cost. If you have a building, if you own a building, say Empire State Building, you own it, and when you built it, say it cost you, say $200 million, and still reported as at $200 million minus the accumulated depreciation. So, but can you buy Empire State Building for $200 or even $200 billion? So we still have to report it at historical cost. We have no way to change it to fair value because there's the gap, there's the US gap. So, but in managerial accounting, nothing irrelevant can survive. Well, in financial accounting, we emphasize on relevance as well, but still compliance is the main driver there. Compliance. Okay. Although nowadays, financial accounting is also trying to be more user-friendly, more relevant. So there is adoption of fair value accounting or mark to market in many areas. But managerial accounting is all common sense based. So activity based costing tells you that if you can identify the activities, if you can identify the cost pools and then divide it by assign it to different activities. Say I'm the principal of a college. Now my services are required by almost every product we produce, like every discipline, every student, or every batch of students, or every discipline that you teach. I'm the principal. So my salary is $100. That should be assigned to all those different activities. So there are 4 different activities that go on here: teaching, sports, counseling, advising, grading, okay, awarding certificates, or sometimes um, different types of other job guidance, job placement. So we have all these activities at the college, but principal's supervision is necessary. So you assign my role like 3% to one activity, 37% to another activity, 40% to another activity, and 10% to the rest. All right. So this is how you allocate all the resources among all the activities. So all the resources must be spent, must be shown allocated. So there may be a little bit of arbitrariness there, because it's all interview based. So as long as everyone agrees that okay, this is how the principal guys or the vice chancellor's salary or benefits should be allocated across the activities, and this is how the sports says. So we have a coach that we pay probably the highest amount of money. We pay more to a football coach than we pay to the vice chancellor or the provost or the president even sometimes. So we allocate the football coach's salary to different activities that we, maybe coaching or teaching is the main activity there. Maybe 100% goes to teaching activity or coaching activity. Then we have security personnel, we have building depreciation, we have computers, we have equipment, we have databases. So all these are all overheads, because these are all indirect services necessary to perform the job of a university. So we identify, our first job is to identify, enumerate the activities, determine the activities, that the major activities. You can merge some activities into one, but still you have to identify the activities that you perform. And then the activity costs. Activity costs would be once you do the first stage allocation, once you allocate all the resources across all the activities. So dollars converted in percentages converted into dollars, and then have the column totals. Column totals would be your activity costs, and they divided by number of activities or activity units. So for example, washing clothes is an activity that we have in this household. So total washing cost is say $50 a month, and how many pieces of garments you washed. If it's say 50, then the cost of washing a piece of garment is $1. Okay, then ironing could be another activity, then packing could be another activity, all this. So activity-based costing is fun. Once you have the activity rates, then you can analyze any customer profitability, any product profitability. You can prepare any management report. But remember, the main thing is that ABC doesn't help you with materials and labor. Material cost, labor cost, these are given. We don't tamper with those. We do not tinker with material and labor. We tinker with overhead costs. We say that we have a better approach to assign overheads, better approach of assigning overheads than traditional absorption costing. Anyway, so I hope you can do this assignment. I would like all of you, I've seen that many of you have not started it yet, but please listen to this video, and I've shared I've done some screen sharing, so you would have seen how the question is solved. But I hope you can finish the assignment, and we're going to do another one very soon on chapter 9. I'll probably do one on chapter 8, budgeting. But now that I know how to do screen sharing, I won't have to do all those notes. I'm going to use screen sharing, and then you would have that direct access to your quizzes and questions and problems. All right. So happy Thanksgiving, Happy doing assignments. Enjoy the rest of your Thanksgiving break. All right. Don't work too hard, but don't party too hard. This is Corona season, so this year is different. I'm sure we're going to have a better year next year, next Thanksgiving. All right. Bye bye. Good night.